December 14th, 2021. That was the last update that Power Rangers Battle for the Grid received at the time of this video being made. The update itself was simply the inclusion of Rita Repulsa and some slight gameplay changes. That was about 5 months ago, and no one really knows when the next update is going to drop. Shortly after Rita's release, however, a man by the name of Stuco had been dropping short videos of some potential changes that might be made to existing characters. He had been posting them on the respective character channels in the official Battle for the Grid Discord group, and I went to go over these to see if they'll really help out in the long run. Now, please remember that these are all quote-unquote tentative changes. They might not even happen at all. They're just experimenting at the moment, which is probably why this is your first time even hearing about possible balance changes. It would make sense that the official YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook accounts for BFTG have made no comment on this. Imagine being told that something is coming out and then it doesn't. Smart move, anyway. Now if only we can get rid of that NFT game and then okay, I'm getting off track here. Anyways, only 10 of the 26 characters in the roster have been mentioned so far, and I'm not going to dissect every single little change, just the ones that could have the biggest impact on their tier placement. So let's start with the one pack of changes that I've already mentioned in a previous video. Dragon Armor Trini, the single worst character in the entire game. It would make sense that they would change stuff, and here they are. The biggest takeaways is that her 5M and jumping special now hits off the ground, which on paper should increase her overall damage output as she'll now have more combo extensions. Personally, I think Trini is the character that needs a complete moveset overhaul. Some of her stuff just seems like it'll never work unless you make them beyond broken. And it's highly unlikely that Enway would dish out more money to get some new attack animations, so more damage for Trini is what we'll get so far. Next up we have Jason Lee Scott, the Red Ranger. The biggest ones here is that Red will have better follow-ups after his throws. You see, Red has an abysmal mix-up game. 2L and throws are his only options for opening people up, so buffing his throws to where he can get more damage off of them solo is a pretty big deal. Also, Red's 5S will now activate the counter earlier. As it is right now, this may very well be the single worst move in the entire game. A counter that starts on frame 29? Might as well not have a 5S at all. One more thing, the follow-up after Red's EX is going to be optional now, meaning you have more combo routes. What combo routes? How about a Plinkfinite? Huge shout out to Corsa for pulling this off. I know I wouldn't be able to come close to doing so. You know what else I can't pull off? Using Daishi, who also has some changes. These seem to be mostly quality of life changes, but one change that makes sense completely is the fact that Daishi's EX is now invincible on startup. So check this out. Using an EX move as a reversal is a common strategy in BFTG, unless you're Daishi. His EX has armor, which is cool and all, but what's armor compared to invincibility? The fact that it's not invincible now means that I could simply grab Daishi out of his EX without a worry in the world. So an invincible EX is a certainly welcome change. Daishi is one of my least used characters, since I'm just awful with him. So hopefully these changes can make it easier for people like me to use them. Speaking of characters that I rarely use, Ranger Slayer is certainly another. Her biggest changes is that 2M hits off the ground now, and while knocked, 6SH will now instead do a flying kick that causes a wall bounce. This will allow for some more combo routes which could up her overall damage output. Simple changes, but overall should be effective. Simple is not the way to describe Trey and his changes, however. Widely regarded to be the second worst character in the game, it's no surprise that he's been tuned up, and boy did he receive a lot. He won't be as floaty, his frame data has improved a bit, and his Gold Rush moves will be immune to projectiles, as well as them having more options to move about the screen. I can definitely see Trey being a much more speedier character with these changes, which means you have to be on high alert as one touch from him more often than not leads to death. Next up we have Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. Most of his changes are rather small quality of life things like some more damage and 4S having a hit of armor. But the weirdest change is that done to his 6S. 6S charge will supposedly now cause a ground bounce more consistently, which should alter his corner to corner combos. You'll have to be more alert on whether or not you use up his ground bounce, or you'll just end up dropping the combo. Also, his 6M now wall bounces, which could affect his combo game even further. I'd have to see it in action to get a better grasp on how this will impact Green in the long run. Another character I need to see in action is Magna Defender. He did get some neat stuff like more range on his 5S and an OTG property as well as a larger hitbox on his jumping special, but there is one change that concerns me. Magna's dash jump height has been increased, and it may seem like a buff, but Magna's current low jump height allows for some additional damage on his combos and a mix-up that ain't too shabby. The new dash jump hasn't been shown in action yet, but if it doesn't allow for a dash jump immediate jumping heavy, then you would be taking away damage and mix-up options from him. And right now, the last thing Magna needs is nerfs. Perhaps his new combo abilities can make up for this, but I'll have to try it out myself to really know. If there's one character that has some clear buffs though, it's definitely Donna. Both her 4S and 6S will be faster, and the last hit of her jumping special will now cause a ground bounce. Overall, she has more combo routes and her zoning will be stronger. She'll basically be much better at what she already does. Alright, we are 7 characters in and there's still 2 more I need to discuss. These are arguably the most important of the bunch for one reason, and that's that they are part of my main team. It's been that way since October of 2020, the time when I first learned the ins and outs of BFGG. Why don't we start with the character who's been needing buffs for so long that the Battle for the Grid community has straight up made it a meme, aka Anubis Dog Kruger. So Dog has 2 changes at the moment. Stuco decided to opt out on giving information, which means we'll have to fill up the blanks. The first change is that his 4S has much faster startup. This will make it easier for his combos since 4S is a huge part of them. And given that 4S is an overhead, it'll give Dog some more mix-up options. The second change is that the second hit of his jumping special is now full screen.
That's quite big. Impressive.
Which is absolutely crazy because I did not expect him getting a buff like this. Being able to punish certain things from full screen without having to commit to using his super will make people think twice about throwing things out. You'd have to respect him in this regard or end up being chopped liver thanks to Dog's great damage output. Dog already seemed like a pretty fair character, and this stuff won't break him, but it's nice to have and I'm looking forward to more potential buffs in the future. At least this could be his chance at being the best. It'll be a first for him if it was, unlike the last character I need to talk about, one who when they were first released was actually the best character in the game. Robert R.J. James came out dominating. His ease of use and high damage output made him a large threat at the time, but the fire was shortly put out as stronger characters joined the roster and he himself had received a large number of nerfs since then. As far as his changes go, they're very interesting. 2M has more hit stun, which means he can combo 2M into 5S now. I've actually been wanting this change for a very long time, as having to commit to 5H to hit confirm can be a risk against push blockers depending on who you're fighting. 6S is now faster and has RJ jumping at a lower height. This will give more combo routes and up his damage. Speaking of damage, his throws, super, and 5S has small damage increases. 5M will not fill up the juggle limit as much to help his damage increase even further. The one change that definitely intrigues me however is his 5S 6S. This is the move that sends his wolf wheel upwards after it bounces off the ground. When it bounces, it will now be air unblockable. Kind of odd considering RJ already has one of, if not the best anti-airs in the game, but I'm not complaining. RJ is absolutely the coolest character in the game for me, so seeing him have more tools to fare against the cast is certainly welcomed. And with that, we went over all of the character changes. As you've noticed, none of the super strong top tier characters have been touched up yet. Whoever is working at Anway is probably thinking hard about what to nerf for these characters, so we'll just have to wait and see. No date has been announced yet for the patch, but I'm hoping it's soon. I love Battle for the Grid, and it's already decently balanced, but I would want for all the characters to be fun to play. And a generally good way to make characters fun to use is giving them the tools they need to win. On that note, I'll let you guys go. This has been Hollow Shy, and I thank you guys for watching. Oh yeah, also Gravesword H is much faster, but who uses Gravesword?